Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
But before diving into this story, let me show you where Vietnam is on the map. Stretching along the South China Sea in Southeast Asia, it's a country of dramatic mountains, endless rice fields, and chaotic cities. It also proudly occupies pretty much all the coastline in the neighborhood. Vietnam has more than 3,000 kilometers of coastline and millions of motorbikes completely rule the traffic. The north is known for misty peaks, winding mountain passes, and villages that feel frozen in time. We traveled all across northern Vietnam, from Hanoi to the Chinese border, through jungles, narrow roads, and tiny remote towns. And trust me, I've got a lot to tell you. It all began in Sapa, a famous town for travelers, and we were fortunate to catch it in a misty, moody atmosphere, which I honestly loved. The journey there was quite an adventure, but thanks to our off-roader, we pulled it off. On Vietnamese roads, SUV is the bare minimum. Anything smaller is just optimism. We checked out some of the tourist spots in Sapa, but what we enjoyed the most was experiencing real life in Vietnam, meeting locals and trying authentic food. The food was usually a surprise, but this one was actually good. We had fun, we really did. But the road was calling, so it was time to move on. The long road made us hungry, so we had to find a place to eat. A little tired of local food, we were craving something simple. So we ended up at a cozy European restaurant, and we finished the evening by, no, just peacefully discussing our plans for the next day.
Shut up and sit down.
It's basically what we was telling to ourselves on every single stop. It was so beautiful, so we had to practically drag ourselves into the car and keep moving, just because we had a long road ahead. Finding places like this felt like discovering a hidden treasure. We stopped in a tiny village in the middle of nowhere, and deep in the forest we came across an abandoned structure that felt like a forgotten piece of Vietnamese history. Moments like this made me feel like a real traveler. By that point, we had already covered quite a few kilometers. Sapa and Giang were behind us, and we were heading further and further north, closer to Chinese border. It was hard to put our feelings into words, but there were so many. Standing in front of landscapes so vast and powerful leaves you speechless. At times, I almost wanted someone to wake me up. Seeing beauty like that with your own eyes doesn't feel real. It feels like a dream. But of course, exhaustion was slowly catching up with us. Long hours behind the wheel and early mornings were starting to take their toll. So, when we finally reached the small town of Dong Van, we wandered its quiet streets, explored traces of local history carved into stone, and were more than happy to be reunited with a bed. The day began with breakfast, and of course a breathtaking view. I was especially happy about finally having fried eggs for breakfast instead of soup. If you are a big fan of soup, Vietnam is definitely your place. After finishing breakfast, we left Dong Van and headed into steep mountain switchbacks to conquer the rest of Vietnam. I can honestly say this became one of my favorite stops. For no particular reason, really. There was just something about it. Watching those shots now, seeing those genuinely happy faces, it makes me want to freeze that moment in time. Moments like this remind you not to be afraid of traveling. The emotions, the experience, the chance to see how beautiful our planet truly is, that's priceless. And when you share it with the right people, it even doubles. So, travel, guys, just travel. By the way, this is Nho Q River and this is where we're going next. And we went full bourgeois and rented the entire boat. Why not? And technically, we were millionaires at that point. In Vietnamese dong, sadly, not dollars, but a million is a million, right? And a big credit to my brave friend who was not like me and was not afraid to bring the camera on board. That's the only reason why we have this gorgeous footage. But unfortunately, there was a big loss waiting for us later on. But we'll get to that soon. For now, you can just enjoy watching us make the most of our very own private boat, creating as much content as possible. As you can see, the day has started in a pretty good mood. After breakfast, the mood became even better. Our next destination was Giog Waterfalls. I hope no Vietnamese people watching this, if so, please forgive my pronunciation. It located about here, right on the border with China. Unfortunately, luck wasn't exactly on our side that day. We didn't realize it closed at 5:30 p.m, so we didn't get there. Still, we weren't too disappointed. The road leading there was absolutely stunning.
No.
Yes, unfortunately we lost the drone. Being a little too naive, or maybe just exhausted from moving every single day, we didn't make any backups at all. Thankfully, we managed to download at least some of the footage, the bits you've already seen in this video, but only in low quality. So guys, learn not from your own mistakes, but from ours. Make backups as often as you can, especially while traveling. But samurai don't give up that easily. Of course, we went searching for a fallen warrior. What was supposed to be just nearby, and we'll be back in 40 minutes, turned into one of the most epic hikes of my life, almost 4 hours long. But hey, at least I'll have a story to tell. And since my face apparently comes with built-in subtitles, and unfortunately that feature is very hard to turn off, here you can observe a completely exhausted and slightly miserable expression. After losing all hope and energy climbing up and down, my friend and I finally made our way back. The God's Eye. It looks like a tunnel carved straight through the mountain, but in reality it isn't a passage at all. It's a massive collapse in the limestone. Over millions of years, water slowly eroded the rock, and eventually part of the cliff gave way, forming this almost perfectly round window in the mountain. During the rainy season, water gathers at the base, and the eye reflects in the water, creating the illusion of a pupil. But in the dry season, the one we arrived in, the landscapes feels completely different. As you can see, I had a feeling we are on the Mars, and we were lucky enough to greet the sunrise completely alone, except that guy on a cool motorbike. We may have lost the drone, but not our travel spirit. So now we are already going south, aiming Halong. It's where our little boat was already waiting for us. And this is where we're about to enjoy the next 24 hours. That was time for us to relax.
Alright, Xin welcome you to Rita Crew. Warmly welcome you and your family to Halong Bay.
We had a few days left, so we decided to spend them in Ninh Binh and surrounded area. Ho Lu, the ancient capital of Vietnam, was one of our stops. It's an incredibly cinematic place. The actual filming location of Kong School Island. That very rock appeared in the movie. The whole village was built as a film set and later left there to attract more tourists. Honestly, Jordan picked a pretty amazing location. So our Vietnamese story comes to an end. The journey is over, but the memories are more than enough. It was truly an unforgettable time. Yes, there was some losses along the way, but we gained so much more experience, emotions, and even stronger desire to keep exploring this world. This isn't a goodbye, it's see you later.